was Chuck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you just said Chuck here too. My bad.
You forget me so easily, Patty.
No, I thought she said Chuck. That's why I was laughing.
Oh, okay. No.
Is Mr. Jeff Holt.
Ah.
Have you
Jeff
been
Holt.
introduced to Jeff yet?
Oh, yes. I know and love Jeff.
Jeff must be really disappointed about the AAS meeting going online. You were gonna be staying at home and probably had a lot of your students planning to go.
Yeah, we were gonna try to volunteer in order to get in for free-ish.
Yeah.
But
yeah, well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, now I'm kind of watching to see how they do it, just in case our regionals have to go virtual.
Yeah, a lot of us are doing that same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, IPS might be doing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, AAS might be a benchmark for IPS.
All right, so just want to let everybody know we have begun streaming onto the net. So now you can continue to do what you were doing before, but now you know you're being recorded. So thank you all for coming out here to eConference number 4. This has been a kind of a crazy week. Somehow everything has happened at once. So we're all zoomed out, and by the end of today, we're going to go over the upcoming schedule for the eConferences. Next week, I think one, maybe. So we're going to kind of ease it out. So we've got maybe a week on, week off, so that way everybody can kind of relax and not be staring at a computer all the time. But more importantly, not spend all of your days staring at me. So it's very important. So we've got a nice light schedule for today. Our main goal today is to try out some new things in Zoom. Karrie Berglund, of course, from Digitalis, is going to be giving our first LIPS style presentation. So for those of you who have been to a live interactive planetarium symposium before, you know that we frown very, very heavily on lecture. It's about discussion. And in a lot of cases, we specialize with small group discussion. That is a little bit difficult when we've got 40 or 50 people, but Zoom does have an ability for us to break out into different rooms. What makes it even better is that these rooms randomly assign you. So you have no idea who you're going to end up in that room with. Could be somebody you love, could be somebody you hate, could be somebody you've never met before. Either way, you get a full sort of slightly out of your comfort zone experience today, as Karrie's talking about dome configurations and interactivity. So how the difference in dome configurations affects how we can interact with our audiences. As always, because this is being streamed on YouTube for later reference, professionalism, decorum, don't say anything you wouldn't want a boss to hear necessarily. That being said, we do want people to feel open to engage fully. The breakout rooms are not recorded as only the main room that remains recorded. So once you're in there and you want to be a little bit more open, you can do that. As always, if you have questions or want to make a comment during the e-conferences, either raise your hand from the participants window or place that in the group chat. Both of those are on my screen and I can see all of them at all times. So we'll have a little bit about the upcoming e-conference events. There'll be some time for open forum, as always. And then what we're probably going to do every other week, and I'm going to admit Ryan Wyatt first before we talk about this, is that Wednesdays, we have our fun segments, our music, the record shop with Mike Smale, podcast for your planetarium with Mary Holt. On Fridays, we want to do something that's a little bit more uplifting. And so for those of you who have the honor, privilege of being friends with Renee Kerrigan on Facebook, you know that she will almost on a daily basis ask for your best parts. What was the best part of your day? Could be something small, could be something really, really big, but something that kind of gives that glimmer of light and hope. And so what we're going to do at the end of all of the Friday conferences is just open up the floor for your best part of the week. Share what's good in your life with everybody else, because work's great, but sometimes we've got to think a little bit outside the dome. So hat tip to Renee for that, and hopefully we get to hear some really good stuff this afternoon. What you'll see if you're following along with the schedule, it's a little bit shorter today. We should be done by about 1:20, 1:30, and that's probably how we'll do. We're not going to try to stretch the e-conferences in the future to 2 hours if we don't have the sessions for 2 hours. And it just so happened because we had so much going on this week, we were able to give Karrie a little bit more time and try out some new things. So given that, still a little bit ahead of schedule, which is great, I'm going to turn this over to Karrie and got to approve somebody at Dome Dialogues, got to keep adding people. Turn it over to Karrie. I'm going to do my best to kind of help in the background with all of the breakout room stuff. And if this breaks, hey, at least we tried. If it works really well, then we've got a brand new way of doing parts of these e-conferences. So without further ado, everyone, Karrie Berglund.
All right. Thanks, Michael. And I'm definitely unmuted. Good to see you all here. And I hope you're all staying healthy. Give me a thumbs up if you're staying healthy. I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. That's good. Oh, I see a sideways hand from some. I hope that sideways becomes a thumbs up very soon. This is my very first Zoom presentation, and so I feel like I'm kind of jumping in with both feet, learning how to do big group and small group stuff. So thanks to Michael for assisting me, talking me through some ideas just a few minutes ago. And we'll see how this goes. So we are going to be talking about dome configuration and interactivity. And give me a thumbs up if you've ever been to a LIPS, a mini LIPS or a GLIPSA or any LIPS style event. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up there, which is great. Good, you can put those thumbs down. If you have been to a LIPS, you know, as Michael mentioned, we tend to do a lot of large group and small group stuff. If you've never been, that's a quick overview, a simplification, but I'm gonna figure out here, I'll share my screen, and I closed things like the accounting program so you wouldn't see that. Does anybody see my screen? Might need to unmute and tell me.
No, not yet.
Not yet? Okay, this may not work as easily as I thought it would. Well, I may have to do some quick typing during the break, but let me at least go over it so I have my list of goals. My goals for today, I wanted to emphasize that you can do interactive programs in any dome. I wanted to consider challenges that some dome configurations present. And I wanted to, as a group, create a list of techniques or strategies for interacting with audiences in all these different types of domes. And I had a couple of personal goals as well. Practice presenting virtually. As I mentioned, this is my very first Zoom presentation, so we'll see how that goes. And I also wanted to think bigger picture and determine if this format would be good for LIPS online sessions. So not only at the end of this pandemic, which I'm certainly hoping is going to end in the not too distant future, but kind of in general, is this something where we might want to do a LIPS meetup online once a month? This is a good way to figure out if it's a good format. So with that said, I think I'd better get my first small group question ready. And I was planning on sharing my screen, but I think that I can just do this in the chat and try to figure out why the screen thing's not working later. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to go into your small groups. And Michael can explain how that actually happens. He probably just has a button he has to press to make that happen. And the question that I would like everyone to consider is, I'm just sending it in the chat, what are some ways that domes differ from each other? And I'm going to keep it very general. So I would like to give people about, actually, let's do 5 minutes on this one, because you'll probably have to introduce yourselves to each other. You may not know each other at all. So Michael, let's do 5 minutes for groups to introduce yourselves to each other and then consider that question. If somebody could take notes, that would be great. I do have a Word document I'm going to type them into, but that way we'll make sure we don't miss anything. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, then Michael, please explain how we're going to get into these small groups.
Okay, so what I have is a breakdown. I can see all of you now are going to be sent into different rooms. It should indicate to you the number of your room. So it's probably a good idea to keep that in mind. Breakout room 1, 2, 3. When I click open all rooms, it should then dump all of you into these individual rooms of between 5 and 6 people. And we'll see how this goes. So you're magically going to be transported to a smaller Zoom room in 3, 2, 1. Okay, you've been invited. And there we go.
Michael, I got invited to join breakout room 1.
You can just deny that.
Yeah, okay, that's what I figured. I wasn't expecting to see the invitation, but there it was.
And just like that.
Yeah. So I'm not quite sure what I did that wasn't allowing my screen to be shared.
What client are you using? Is it Windows or Linux?
Yeah, I'm on a Windows laptop.
Okay.
Oh, although I think it is running Linux, so maybe that is the problem.
If anything, given that they've got 5 minutes, just feel free to send me the file and I can share it as well.
Okay. Yeah, then you can probably read ODTs, right? Or I can save it as a docx and send it to you that way.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah.
Unassigned.
Well, actually, let me think about this for a second, because I want to be able to type into this document as people are sharing ideas, but maybe I can, let's see. Ideally, they'd be able to see as I'm typing. That's what I'm going to figure out. I wonder if there's a better application that I can use. Maybe I'll try LibreOffice Present and see what happens. That's probably not going to make any difference.
Hi, is it Kara?
Kara?
Kara, are you in the room with us yet? Because if you are, what we've done, we're in the lip session with Karrie right now. We've assigned you to a breakout room. We're doing some small group work with a question of what are some ways that domes differ from each other? Perfect. There we go. Okay, so I can assign people as they come in. Good.
Do you have any
also,
idea?
This is the way to do a YouTube. This is the way to do it. It's like
cool. It is. Do you have any idea if I share my screen, will only you see it, or are other people likely to see it?
It should be just me.
Okay, good. And I doubt this is going to work, but let's see. Okay. Anything yet?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
All right, let me see. I'm going to try something special here. I'm going to try to drop into one of the breakout rooms and see if I can move around as a host.
Oh, I can just put things in the chat, because I'm going to get that file later.
True.
I'm going to copy my question into the chat so I remember which one, and then when people give answers, then I'll type them there. There we go. It won't be bulleted, but I'll make do.
There we go. Jumped through 3 different rooms and it was seamless. I'm very impressed right now.
Sorry, I was still muted. Yeah, this seems like it'll work out great. Does it give you a countdown?
Yes,
Wow.
it says we have 18 seconds left.
Yes,
Oh,
I
that's
thought it was
cool.
about up.
And then, of course, we have the ability to broadcast a message to everyone, as well as to close all of the rooms prematurely.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know.
Okay.
I have no idea because I can't see what they're doing. I can't listen to what they're doing. I have no idea how close they are to being done. That's
Okay,
the one.
all breakout rooms are going to close in 30 seconds.
Okay. Oh, we're coming back. It's like magic.
That was cool.
Awesome.
That was nice.
Then in one fell swoop, everybody returns to the room. There we go.
Yeah, I was going to say. No, there were more. Oh, awesome. Okay, well, Michael and I had some time to figure out how to handle this. I was planning on typing things into a nifty Word document, but since that's not working for screen share, I'm going to extensively use the chat function. So I'm not going to send a chat after everything that I enter, but generate a list from your small groups. I will type them into the chat, and when we're done with this question, I will send it to everybody, so we'll all magically have a record. And I do want to mention the chat is there, so if you suddenly have this brilliant idea, even after we've moved on to a different question, feel free to just send it to the chat, note which question it goes with. It might be obvious, it might not, but that'll make it easier for me. Okay, so let's hear what are some ways that domes differ from each other. And I think let's just go group to group and start with group one. So somebody from group one, please give me an idea.
All right.
I remember, oh, Michelle, good.
I took notes.
Awesome.
Said the size of the dome.
Excellent. Let's just do one per group first.
Okay. The size
Awesome.
of the dome.
Great. Group two.
Okay, we had permanent versus portable.
All right. Permanent versus portable. Excellent. Group three. Is that Mark Webb? You're muted. There you go.
I think we were group three. The type of institution, whether school, museum, and the mission of that particular facility.
Okay, let me just make some notes here before we move on to group four. Museum mission. All right, group four.
We talked about all those things, but maybe one nuance is that the university versus museum planetarium, there's also a difference in what kind of museum
Okay.
planetarium is associated with.
Okay. That might be natural history, it might be a science museum, children's museum. Yeah. Okay. Group five.
Yeah, along with that same thing, the audience type. So is it public or school shows or students or groups or not?
Yep, great. Public school, with those school shows. You see, all right. Group six.
I took the notes. One of the main things we said was that how we actually use them. So kind of along the same lines for science and non-science content. I love how Marco from Costa Rica said they've even done a commercial program for, what was it, Walmart? I think that's pretty amazing. So how we use our domes is how we differ.
I'm a little intrigued by that Walmart comment. So to take a little side trip, Marco, what were you doing for Walmart?
Oh yeah, of course I can tell you that experience. It was this January. Walmart has a local regional management here in Central America, so they needed to tell all the managers from the different stores in these countries all the achievements of the different areas. So they wanted to make like a presentation, and they were wondering how are we going to tell them what we achieved. So we actually filmed at the stores and people and made some graphics, animations, and we made like a 10-minute program, which made a short presentation of all the things they wanted to tell their colleagues. And it was amazing. We got about 800 store managers in our dome.
Wow.
They were amazed by the technique. It was really a big success.
That's cool. All right, thank you. We on group 7? Did I keep count?
Yeah, I think that what hasn't been discussed is a seating arrangement. So we were all unidirectional, but of course that's not how all planetariums are. And then also how the seating is done based if you have center or projectors in the center of the dome or if they're cove mounted.
Okay. So seating unidirectional or concentric, and I'm going to say projection equipment location. For that. Okay. Was there a group 8? No, so we had 7 groups total?
Correct.
Awesome. Okay, then I think we've got it. I'm going to actually, before I do that, let me just open it up. Before I send the chat, was there anything that didn't get listed?
We had, do you do live presentation? Yes, no, or sometimes?
Ah, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot. Got a lot on this list. So I don't know if we still want to round robin or just plow through them or what.
I think let's kind of round robin. I think we're a big group, so if you have an idea, go ahead and say it. If somebody else is talking, just wait.
Well, certainly the tilt orientation of the dome.
Yep, tilted or non-tilted. Okay, just got another one.
And how much space is available? I have a large area of space in the front of my theater and enough space along the sides that I can actually break out into groups in the side of my theater.
Okay. Yeah, we have a 6.1 meter dome at our office, and we don't even have a place for our console inside it. So breakout groups would be not possible for us.
Yeah, I can manage 15 groups of 4, so I can have 60 kids into 15 groups.
That's great.
Yeah.
Probably
We've
we
got
talked
another
about would be, whether or not the seating is removable.
Yeah.
There's also projection type, whether you're traditional with a star ball or if you've got digital projection.
Okay.
Or 3D projection. Location of the console.
Okay. Is it in the rear? Is it in the front? Is it on the side?
And then things like clickers.
How is it staffed?
What do you mean by that, Chuck?
Well, I mean, obviously there's the difference in an institution where the people working there are expected to just press play, or if they are, able to do the thing, actually give presentations, and what quantity of staff would you have? What's the funding like around that whole thing as well? Would be another aspect of that.
There's also resolution, how much resolution the dome can handle. And then Steve in our group mentioned the position of doors being in the front, the back, the sides. And Maria Rosa mentioned something along those lines as to having to ask people in her planetarium to exit in the back doors and not step in the stairs so the planetarium doesn't get sued. If there's an
safety issues.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then also lighting and sound.
Okay.
We also discussed whether the space was considered a multi-use environment or planetarium only.
Yeah, those are all right.
Another idea is, do you charge for it or is it free admission?
Okay.
And what's the hemispherical angle? Is it a hemisphere? Is it 160 degrees? Is it a 220? What's going on there?
Yeah, so you're talking about, hemisphere or hypersphere or whatever the hypo, I guess it would be if it's a bit less.
Right.
Has the size of the dome been mentioned yet?
Yes, it has. I know this is tough because I can see the list, but you all can't yet.
I was going to say the city size or your location, which is related to your audience size, I suppose.
The potential audience size is, I'm going to word that, the population of the surrounding areas, or
The reflectivity of the dome, which also reminds me that projector contrast would have an effect as well.
okay.
What about
So
the
this-
types of presentations that are given based on the cities that you are within? Like, you know, if you are in Nashville, you do a lot of music or, you know, something along those lines.
Okay, sounds good.
So like location of the actual site. So on
Yeah.
the world. Yeah.
Was not allowing me to type in anymore. That's a crazy long chat, so I'm going to start a new one. Differences. I think I'm going to call what Jackie was saying location culture, and then I'll put a note Nashville music, just so I know how to flesh that out later.
Renee's comment makes me think too whether you're the only planetarium in the area or if there are other planetariums nearby.
Yeah. Planetarium, or is there competition?
And slightly outside the dome, do people have exhibit areas or no?
Yep. Is it standalone? Wow, this is a great list.
It's almost like we've been in planetariums before.
I know. Oh, Mike gave me a helpful tip. If you use shift return, each point will go up on a new line. That's awesome. Thank you, Mike. I'm going to try that out right here.
How about accessibility in the dome, the types of things which are accessible, whether it's a caption system or tactile illustrations or whatever, or wheelchair access.
Yeah. Okay, that is a great list. And I think we're going to call it there. If you think of anything else, feel free to add it to the chat and just note that it was to go with the differences. There. Using Mike's helpful tip, I actually have some line breaks. That's awesome. I love it. Okay, well, we're going to get ready for our next small group question. So I'm going to come on over to my page that you cannot see and get to the next question. So what I would like you to think about in those small groups this time is, what challenges does your own dome present for interaction? Okay, so let's give you, we'll just do, I think, 3 minutes on that. So let's go. Okay. Just catching up on email.
This is the best part about being a LIPS presenter.
iPad, phone.
All right, close all in rooms.
All right.
and Now.
Hey, let the people come back.
Okay, good. Nobody wants to leave their rooms yet. And boom.
Okay, there they go. That was maybe a little too short. It's hard to tell. Got no context to tell if people are done or not. Is that everybody? 1, 2, 4, 5, 25.
That was a little short.
Okay, good to know. Can adjust that if I ever do this again. We have everybody?
The first 5 minutes was great. That just seemed real short that time. so.
Okay, okay. 3 minutes, not enough time. Okay, good to know. All right, I think everybody's back. And I feel like rather than go one group at a time, the round robin worked pretty well. So if you have an idea, what challenges does your own dome present? Remember, you might need to unmute yourself.
One thing that's challenging for us is that we have a really large theater, it's 250 seats, but our daily shows tend to be like 20 to 40 people. So people in the dark get very intimidated with like the large theater, the darkened environment, and they do not want to interact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe it's my turn. Our case is the opposite. It's too small.
So, oh, interesting.
We are in a 5-meter dome with 30 people, and there's a little room to move around. We even have to move around the projector. And since the projection level, the horizon is very low, if you stand up, you have the projection in your face. So it's kind of difficult, and also the time we have to spend is a little time inside the dome because they're sitting on the floor. So with small presentations, 15 minutes, 30 minutes at most.
Okay.
Same here.
Yeah, and yeah, it's hard to squeeze much interaction into that short of presentation. I find anyway. Okay, other challenges.
One thing that we talked about was the location of the controls versus location of the presenter. It can be difficult to be in front of the audience.
Yep.
While we're on location, there's a couple issues with location of the planetarium itself. If it's in a school and you're trying to line up school groups and you've got change of classes and the place is suddenly flooded with kids going to other classes, that's an issue, or near the cafeteria. And then also with that accessibility, just for the ability to have public shows, if it is a school-run facility or other institution, you want to do something at night and it's on the second floor somewhere.
Yeah, even the very easily.
Real quick before we keep going, for the round robins, thanks Toshi for the idea. If you could go on ahead and raise your hands in the participant window, that'll just queue it up automatically for us, and then we can just go.
Nice. Okay.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah, thanks, Toshi. See, I'm learning so many things.
Shannon, you were already there, so go ahead.
Yeah, so to jump off of that, I mean, for us, we're at a university, and so we have a lot of other rules that we have to follow. So to get people in the dome, in the first place, to interact with them, to work around those rules. Like we have parking issues, we have for events, we have certain rules when it comes to what we're allowed to do and not do. So it's just outside rules, I guess, and restrictions.
Yep, outside rules and restrictions. Okay. Okay, let's maybe take 3 more ideas on this. Although I'm not seeing any raised hands. Oh, there's one. 2 participants, 3 participants. Oh my goodness. Let's see who was first though. Maybe it doesn't matter.
Go ahead. Amy was first.
One of my challenges is handing out materials to large groups. So I have 100 seats in my theater, which is great, but if I have 100 people and I'm trying to do Moons of Jupiter and hand out flashlights and clipboards and worksheets, that's a nightmare. Doing it with 30 people is fine, but trying to hand out and collect materials with large groups is really challenging.
Yep. Okay, and we have 2 more hands raised, so we'll do these 2. How about Mark?
I'm gonna run a couple of here together because they're a little related. Seeing and hearing. It's dark in there, and in a larger dome, often it's difficult to hear people who are located at other parts of the room or see them. So
You're speaking from the presenter there, seeing and hearing, because it can also be hard for the audience to see and hear too.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it works both ways.
Yep. Okay, and Chuck, we'll end with you.
Okay, so one of the big ones would be the tilted theaters, trying to interact with the audience and run around the theater and do that. It's a lot easier in a flat dome with without the tilt. And I can tell you from my experience with that, certainly getting winded if you got to run up and down a steep theater will also factor in.
Yeah.
Dark stairs, somebody noted. Yeah.
Okay. Another great list. Let me send that off to everybody, because that will be important for the next one. Yeah, I do have line breaks in there. I didn't put a space in between, which I probably should have done to make it a bit more readable, but I think you could still work with that. Let's see, we have about 15 minutes left altogether. I had no idea what the timing was going to be like on this, so I'm just going to kind of give my ear, see what happens. We are going to do, let's do, I'm going to do this question. Hang on just a second, and you will see what it is. So in your small groups, what I would like you to talk about next is what are some strategies for audience interaction in domes with unidirectional seats? And because 3 minutes.
How much would you like? 5
Oh,
or 4?
okay, good. You're reading my mind. I think because 3 minutes was too short last time, this is a little bit more focused, but I think there's probably still enough to talk about for 5 minutes. So let's go 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5.
All right, we're sending to your rooms now.
Awesome.
There we go.
Yep. Yeah, I don't see anybody else hanging out. So far, so good.
Yes, it is. It's the ease of getting people back and forth in the rooms, and the fact that it keeps the rooms in place. So there is no, we can randomize if we wanted to, but if you want to have the same group for an hour, you can have the same group for an hour. And then as people come in, I can just appoint them to rooms that have fewer people.
Yeah. That's great.
It's also, we can reassign where if you really want to have, if you really want to play with the dynamics of a group, like you could say, well, I want these 2 people together, or I want to separate these 2.
Yeah.
Maybe get the super talkative people in a one group, and then, or just, I could see how this would balance out if you, I think 80% of the people have been to Ellipse anyway.
Right. They're kind of self-selecting.
Yeah.
For these kinds of things. It's Ellipse one. I know I want to go. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I was trying to think if it made sense to divide people up, like look at what people came up with, and then have the people in the big domes all together and people in the portable domes all together. But I don't think it does. I think it's good to have a mix of opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's nice to know that we can do that in the future if we want to, but we don't have to.
And I like how, I think because of like the schedule was, the fact that we ended up with right about 40 people, right about a perfect lip size.
Yeah.
Is very, very fortunate.
Yeah, that is really good the way it worked out. Totally by chance. So I think we're going to do this one, and then we'll do, I'm going to look at my list of questions, and I think we'll pick one more.
Okay.
And then I think that'll be enough for people.
Let me. knew this one was going to be a bit more laid back. Yeah, like the upcoming events is going to take very little time. Open forum is very straightforward. And then, best parts is probably the one's going to take a little bit more time because people will then round robin.
Yep. Yeah. I think we'll do, so I did the unidirectional. I think we'll do the concentric seats as the last question. Not many people have experience with that though. But that might be a good reason to do it. Let's pick another one. Oh, you know what I had in here though? Yeah. Ooh. Airplane?
Yeah.
Loud truck?
Truck.
Okay.
It's not an interstate, but it's how everybody else does interstates around here. It's expressway, I guess. So it's a major thoroughfare for like Philly to Pittsburgh that isn't the turnpike. And it's been mostly quiet except for like between 11 and 3 most days.
Yeah.
Like right in the middle of all of the conferences.
Yeah.
Okay, that's whoever's shipping is shipping this way. Minute and a half.
I guess that's good.
So yeah, there are some options. There were some extra options on we can send people to rooms immediately or invite them. The rooms can either close down immediately or they have 30 seconds, which is probably a good thing. But there's all sorts of these like granular details that really can give us the ability to like set the rooms exactly the way that you'd want them to.
That's awesome.
I'm very impressed.
Yeah, I like it. I'm learning so much about Zoom. I guess that's one of the good things. Like we're forced to do this. Okay, I have my next question. It's actually something that didn't get called out per se, but it's one of my least favorite things is where you have those long rows and there's no breaks until you'll have like a row of 60 people. Right? Like Cal Academy springs to mind. Notre Dame is another one. Notre Dame doesn't have 60, but it's probably got 30 people all in a row. Like, how do you get to the people in the middle? And the answer is you really don't. So how do you interact with people?
Very long sticks.
Right? Yeah.
It was just seeing how drastic it changes people's presentation styles. When we were at Pacific Science Center, it's tiny room, everything's low, everybody's close.
Yep.
Oh, and now
my home
all
dome.
participants will be given 30 seconds. All right.
Yep. They're coming back. Oh my gosh. Somebody had pigtails. I don't know who that was though. Okay, we think we have everybody back. Seems like it. Ah, it's Chuck with the pigtails. All right. So raising the hands seemed to work well last time, maintain some semblance of order. So let's hear your ideas, strategies for audience interaction in domes with unidirectional seats. And I'd have pages that I have to watch out for hands raised. So it may take me a second to go back and forth here. Oh, Amy Gallagher raised her hand. Go ahead, Amy. Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I recently started doing an activity that I picked up at Lips a year ago in Seattle with lots of beach balls and squeeze balls of different sizes, and bringing one audience member up at a time saying, which ball do you think is Jupiter? Which one do you think is Saturn? Which one do you think is the Earth? And then we have 8 kids lined up in front of the room, and then ask them to order themselves from the sun to Neptune to put in solar system order, and that presents some interactivity.
All right. Okay, Patty, I see Patty's raised her hand. Let's go to Patty next.
I was trying to unmute myself on my little window, sorry. We actually had a couple strategies that might work for everything. Well, if you do have unidirectional, but all of us said we're in some, whatever capabilities we have, teach from the front, whether it's just doing an introduction. If you have controls, one person had an iPad. I have a remote console that allow me most of the capabilities, but definitely teach from the front, even if it's just an introduction and then running around to the back. And then using some strategies that you could use anywhere, like turn and talk to each other and shout out your favorite planet or whatever when it's appropriate. So those strategies would work for both.
Okay, great. I see Jessica's hand.
There we go. So we try and do a lot of leading questions in our shows to try and get people interacting and communicating, which is a bit easier for us. We're a smaller dome. We seat about 65. So we found it pretty easy to get people interacting with us. But then kind of along with what Patty had said, we also can control our digital system through our iPad. So that allows us to be able to walk around as we're giving the show as well.
Okay. I'm gonna go over to my next page to see if I'm missing a hand or two over there, because I think I must be. Two participants have Toshi.
So one thing that we talked about in addition to the sort of the think, pair, share that Patty was mentioning and others that, and it's something that I mentioned at the Lips in Seattle, but using a single clap method to get votes. And that's a way, because as Mark was saying earlier, it's oftentimes difficult to see hands just raised in the dark. But if you ask a question and you ask, how many people agree with that or whatever, and people clap, then you get sort of an auditory cue, and you can, compare that with when you have another answer and less people clap. It's something that you can hear, and that's a little bit easier than something to just be like kind of scanning, looking for how many hands do you see.
Yep. All right. And Mark Wood.
So we talked about the polling techniques, and there are lots of them to use. One thing that we discussed was establishing the presence of the presenter before the lights go down, so that people are not just listening to the voice in the dark.
Okay. And Michelle.
We tried something really out of the box for us. We bought a new microphone system and brought students to the front of the room, and we helped them lead the Q and answer session.
Oh, cool.
And the teachers, they didn't say it was bad, but the kids loved it.
Good practice for them too.
Yeah, they had to pose the question, and then they had to repeat the answer for everybody to hear. So that was a very good experience for them.
Nice. Okay, I saw Chuck's hand, and then we'll go to Maria Rosa.
Well, there was a bunch of stuff that we discussed. A lot of possibilities there once you're looking at the audience and they're looking at you. But being able to do stuff like having them point to a location where they want to do a prediction where something might be. And I thought it was interesting. I asked Jeff, do you see people actually changing their vote based on what the group is doing? And then he also said, yes, that does happen. And then he'll do some things where there will be some rewards for unique ways that the individual participant might be responding on something simple, like asking to show, what is the shape of the earth? And, they might do something small, they might do something large, and then compliment them on the variety of great ideas. So that you're encouraging some individual thought there as well, not just like the herd mentality of, oh, they're all pointing over there, so that must be right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take one more idea from Maria Rosa, and then we'll move on to one last question.
We talked in our group a little bit about ways to make sound and physical actions people can take to connect to what's going on in the dome. So if you've seen One World, One Sky, which is Sesame Street themed show, As the sun is setting, Big Bird is like, wave goodbye to the sun. And I loved that. And I started using it in my normal shows, like for like families and like high schoolers, and like nothing greater than seeing a bunch of 17-year-olds like wave goodbye to the sun, because they do it if you like lead them. Or like talking about how convection, like friction, generates heat, and that transfers through a body. If you have them put their hands together and then rub them back and forth, you can hear everyone doing it, and everyone can hear everyone else doing it, and so they'll join in, and you can kind of make your point that way. I don't know if that makes sense.
Great. Okay, I'm going to send this. We only have a couple minutes left. I was thinking we'd do one more small group discussion, but I think let's try one more large group, which is kind of a fine-tuning the previous question. So if you don't know me, I'm a vendor, and so I present in domes all over the place for conferences, all different sorts of configurations. One of my least favorite configurations is the domes where code-mounted systems, that's not the problem. But what the problem is that there's these long unbroken rows, no aisle in the middle. And so you could have 200 people in a dome, and there's this huge cluster that you can't get to because there's no middle aisle. You can't physically get anywhere near them. And so I would like to take about 2 minutes and see if anybody has ideas for interacting, especially with those folks in the middle when you cannot get anywhere near them. And you really don't want to have them get out of their seats because it's going to be so disruptive to the rest of the program. So share your wisdom. I'm going to make a little note here in the text box.
Alan, go ahead.
Well, this was something we discussed in our group. Mostly we were focused on audio or sound things. And one thing, a question I had, and I'll put it to the rest of the group, an idea came into my head that if you want to, you can get large group responses easily by hand clapping or things like that, sound, things that make sounds. But to get an individual response from one person in the audience, how do you get to hear them? So I was wondering if anybody here has tried using a shotgun microphone to get sound or response from an individual student in the audience. Nobody. So I think I want to try that.
Okay, I'm going to make
I have to buy a shotgun microphone.
Can you say what a shotgun microphone is?
It's a microphone. Well, let's see. It has like a little parabolic dish, and then the microphone, so it has a very high directionality, and so it will something that's way far away. It will collect the sound and focus it on the microphone. I'm not an expert, but that's my understanding of how it works.
Yeah, it's like a telescope.
Yeah.
But for
Yeah,
sound.
Yeah, I played with this years ago. Yes. It does exist.
Patty, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, even with large groups, if I have groups larger than the 60 to put into my groups of 15, I sometimes pass out something that has like either clickers, which they can vote with, or like when I did a program where it was like showing images and you had to vote whether it was a lander image or one from an orbiter, so they could turn their cards around. So any kind of little cards, especially depending on the age group, where they can actually turn it around and face you. So they're still participating and they can do it from their seats and you can see their participation.
Okay. Do you tend to pass those out as they're walking in, or do you just do it during? Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes with the little kids, they end up on the floor crumpled up before they vote, but it's okay.
Yeah.
All right, Charlie, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and kind of echo what Alan and Patty are saying, because there's definitely technological options for interacting with groups in a large setting like that. One of the things that happened back at the Buell Planetarium at the Carnegie Science Center in the mid-90s was an interactive system using paddles, where you'd hold up a paddle and there was a yes vote registered for that seat using a camera system and the computer, and it would tally those things, and you're actually like steering nutrients through the mitochondria in the Journey to the Living Cell. But also kind of what Patty's saying, I think you could do this low tech as well. Like you could just use something that is shiny or reflective enough. And certainly a lot of those like reflective tape type of things are going to reflect back at you. So if you're where there's some sort of a light source that doesn't have to even be all that bright, you're going to catch a reflection happening there that's beaming at you. And so you can kind of do that, engage the audience. And if you can do it with something that's actually reversible and has colors to it, you could potentially get some yes, no's and other options in there other than just a yes, no. You could get a couple of varieties, perhaps.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see any more raised hand. Oh, John has his physical hand raised. Go ahead, John.
Hey, different type of audience interaction with large groups in a large planetarium. I found that if you ask the audience to introduce themselves next to their neighbor, that kind of loosened up the crowd and made it a little bit more friendlier. So I asked everybody to introduce their neighbor to the right or to the left, and who knows, the guy sitting next to you could be a doctor or could be a professor, could have been in the planetarium many times, and that sort of helped to set the tone of interactivity and getting to know who your audience is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, I see one more hand
And of
raised.
course,
We'll
you
end
do
with
that
that. Okay.
in
Go ahead,
small
John.
domes too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, go ahead, Alan.
I wanted to circle back to, I think it was Amy who said handing out things in a big theater is nightmare. And I wonder if anybody has effective strategies on that. Like, you need helpers for one thing. So do you recruit audience members? Do you get groups of materials ready to hand in from the ends of the rows?
I think those are both good strategies. When I was doing outreach, not necessarily in the planetarium, but I would typically have a few student helpers and they would just be my materials person throughout the lesson. It was a good way to do it.
One way I have tried to work with handing out materials, especially that involve like clipboards and pencils and things like that, is I'll set up the clipboards, the worksheets, and clip a pencil to it and leave it out on the counter in the front of the room. And when the kids come into the lobby of the building, I say, okay, you're going to be working in groups of 3. Get your group of 3 now. Get your clipboard now. And so then they hold on to their clipboard for half the show, but we don't hand out flashlights until we absolutely need them. And then I get the teachers involved to hand out the flashlights.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to put in a plug for what we've done for John Erickson, who's not here. At the Lawrence Hall of Science Planetarium, we've always put some kind of shelf or a little cubby hole under the seat usually, or sometimes it's on the, it could be on the seat in front that has a clipboard. And you can load them with the papers even before the show. And John Erickson invented this great clipboard with a little red light on it. It's reddish orangish light that has a switch. And we've gone through several generations of those. The earlier ones were really awful and they failed frequently, but John Erickson came up with one which is pretty sturdy and can survive abuse from kids in the audience, well, anybody in the audience. I'm trying to get him to publish the plans for that.
Yeah, those are nice. I missed a hand from Toby, who we haven't heard from yet, I don't think. So that will be our last comment because we've already run a few minutes over. Toby.
Yeah, it was so what we did was trying a microphone with foam, for example, that you can throw around. So that was something I heard from another planetarium. So it's kind of a random thing. Whoever is catching it has to comment, has to give an answer or whatever.
Okay, that sounds intriguing. Did you find that did the microphones last pretty well? I mean, if they hit the ground, some people are not going to catch them. Did they survive? Like, so
Yeah, it's
depending
kind
on
of
how much foam.
yeah, it's a big thing, like a ball made of foam, and then inside you have a microphone which is quite sensitive, so you can throw it against the wall and nothing happens. Remote.
Wow. That sounds cool.
It's a great idea.
Well, that's a
That sounds really fun.
yeah, no, it does sound really fun. I think that is actually a great place to end. We started a little early and we still ran long, so this was a good discussion. I am going to type up all these things. Well, I'm going to, I guess, just format the chat once I get that file. It'll be a lot easier than typing everything in again. And so I will make that available. Where remains to be seen. We're trying to redo the LIPS website because it's just kind of clunky, but I'll get it out to you before the LIPS website remodel happens. And so I want to thank you all for participating. I want to thank Michael for being the tech guy. I'm not used to having a tech guy. I'm used to presenting and doing everything on my own. So, but that was great. I could get used to that. And I think that's enough. Give me a thumbs up if you think it was a helpful conversation. Awesome. I want to share these tips not only with the people here, but in the Dome community, because it drives me nuts when people say they cannot do interaction in their Dome. My response is always, you can do interaction in any Dome, and let me give you some tips for your particular Dome from the LIPS community. So thank you, everybody. And I'll turn it over to Michael now.
Thank you, Karrie. So yeah, so we've now done the proof of concept of whether or not you can do a LIPS style activity online, and the fact is that you can. So very, very excited about that. Our next part of the agenda is has an easy one, just the upcoming schedule of events that we've got. I went ahead this morning and created the next 3 conferences, and so if you're on the Facebook group, if you're on Dome Dialogues and you go to the events page, you'll see we have one next week. It's going to be Wednesday at 9 a.m. And so that's because we have a presenter from Japan who will be presenting at 10 p.m. their time. So that's about galaxies and formation. It's going to be a little bit more of a scientific paper. Looking forward to that. And then Julieta, you're going to be on the 8th as well. So we've got 2 very, very good sessions on the 8th. Geared at an earlier time for our international visitors. And then the week following, that's going to be the week of the 13th, we're going to have 2 conferences again, Wednesday and Friday. Both of those are going to be at noon. I know, Patty, you're going to be presenting. I know we have at least between those 2, we've got at least 5 different papers and workshops. So really excited about that. You'll see the return of the record shop and the podcasts and a few new fun segments. We're just going to have a ton of fun with it. So those will be the conferences going forward. Thanks to Dana and to Alan, we now have all of this information on the IPS website as well. So numerous ways to get it. You don't have to go to Facebook. We'll of course have our once a week Dome L post to let everybody know, just so that we're covering all the bases and have as many different opportunities for people to interact as possible. Next thing we're going to do, kind of what we're going to incorporate in every e-conference, is a little bit of open forum time. So if there's anything you want to share, this is sort of the show and tell story time for the next couple of minutes. So I'll just kind of shut up and open it up to you guys. If you put up your hand or something, we'll open up the forum for all of you.
I saw somewhere, I think it was on Dome Dialogues a week or so ago, somebody posted a document about what book companies or what authors were allowing us to read their stories online. And I can't find that document right now. Does that sound familiar? And can somebody repost that?
I think so. I will look through the posts and see. And if I do, I'll just kind of repost it to the top and give you a direct link too. So
one of them, Amy, was HarperCollins.
I do remember you saying that.
Yeah. And I saw that J.K. Rowling is also approved doing some of the Harry Potter stuff. And I think you can look that up. It looks like she had some specifics though, so.
Because I got a specific no from the Seuss estate when I requested to use There's No Place Like Space in planetarium shows. But I was charging for that, so I don't know if that was why they said no to that, but I did get a specific no, but that was like a year ago. That wasn't for a free presentation.
All right, Carol Holmberg. Carol, you're muted, Carol. Carol? Carol, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Oh, you're still muted. We can't hear you.
Am I on now?
We can hear you.
I'm also a solar system ambassador, and the StarNet Library Network has asked for the solar system ambassadors. There's over 200 libraries nationwide that are looking for distance learning opportunities. I've partnered with the library closest to us, but they're all over the country. And it would be nice if you've got information to share. It's a way of staying in touch with the local audiences.
Very cool. Yeah. Michelle.
Check out Charles Bridge as another publisher. I think I read somewhere, but you need to check on that. That will allow books to be read.
Okay. Anything else for open forum? Okay. So we will now close out open forum and move to the second most anticipated part. Karrie, you were first. Second part, which is best parts. So if you'd like to participate in just kind of sharing your best part of the week, and of course, since Renee is in the room, I will allow you to go first, like absolutely. Just go ahead and raise your hand. We'll kind of go through the list in order. But if you want to share something that's happened that's been good for you, this is a great opportunity to do so. So Renee, you have right of first refusal on going first.
Okay, thanks, Michael. I thought I will share the best part of my week, but before I do, I thought maybe in case you haven't heard the story of why I always ask people the best part of their day, this is something I do with my family every day at dinner. But I also at conferences, I'm notorious for going around and making people answer to me what the best part of their day was. And I do also ask on my personal Facebook page. The reason is there was a time when my museum had just opened a new museum. We went from being small to mid-size. We expanded dramatically, and like a lot of places, then we had a big budget crunch right after that. And so a lot of staff was being laid off, there were a lot of really difficult things happening at my museum. I was losing friends. It was not a good time. And my mom gave me really good advice. She said that it's a hard time. You're going to have to try to make it through this time. And so try to find one good thing that happened in every day. And so I have done that. That was years ago now. I was like 8 years ago. So I've just done that consistently since then. And it's a good way to have an attitude of gratitude. And so anyway, it's a good time for right now, I think, as well, because all of us have challenges right now. So the best part of my week is that my museum qualifies for the Small Business Administration's grants that are, well, they're not allowing them to be called grants, they're calling them loans, but they're forgivable loans that are a part of the stimulus package. And that will allow us to keep all of our museum employees employed, hopefully through the end of June, which is when the stimulus window is. We only have about 25 full-time employees, but it also will help our part-time employees, which we weren't sure if we'd be able to continue keeping them employed. And so many of these people are great people who rely on the museum for their income. And I'm just really glad that I'm grateful that we'll be able to keep people employed during this time. So that's the best part of my week.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Renee. Marco, you're up.
Okay, about the best part of the week for us. Well, since we are kind of stranded right now, something happened that it's going to be very interesting for our planetarium. We were working this week with a company which distributes Lego workshops, robotics here in Costa Rica. And we were talking yesterday about making an association between our companies so we can offer our government a Lego workshop using our dome for the students. So there are going to be some parts of the workshop that we are going to be in charge of in our dome that will provide new challenges, because maybe we will have to make some 3D animations and 360 3D animations and maybe film all the Lego parts and things the students are going to be building with the 360 cameras and get some awesome point of views of them, and then make a presentation inside our dome, maybe even some interactive things. We were talking yesterday about putting 4 small tables around our projector in the center, so we get like 20 students, 4 groups of 5 in each table, working with the Legos there inside our dome while they have something projected above their heads. So there are some ideas, and that happened to us.
All right, Shannon, go on ahead.
Oops, laptop fell down. On a planetarium note, I had a virtual meeting this morning with some teachers who reached out. As of yesterday, Michigan has stated that the school year has ended, so our field trip season is now completely done. But I had some teachers reach out and said, hey, is there still something we can do? So I met with them. I'm like, what do you need? And so we've made a plan. Their kids have been studying extreme environments. So we're going to do a virtual tour of the solar system and talk about the extreme environments using Worldwide Telescope. Kids are going to send me their questions, and then I'll do a follow-up with any other questions they have. And I guess they've been working on children's books as part of this. And so they're not going to finish them for school now, but I offered, and the teachers are really excited, that if any of them do want to finish the books, I'll read them as part of our celestial story time we started. So we're trying to like give the kids a motivation to kind of finish up their projects so we can get them out there into our community. So I was really excited about that. So we're starting that. And then I'm going to share this also because it's sitting right next to me. As some of you may know, if you know me and are friends on Facebook with me, I like to bake, and baking is how I get through things. And I was getting dangerously low on flour, but I got some flour yesterday, and so I'm very happy. And here is some pizza dough that is currently rising, and it's very lovely, and I'm excited. So.
Looks delicious. Patty, go ahead.
Share, right?
I have to say that the best part of my week has been these e-conferences. It's been good to see everybody that I know, but today's breakout sessions were awesome because my first breakout session, we had 5 people and 3 of them I had never met before. So that was really awesome. And then the last time, for some reason, I got a different person and another new person. So I really enjoyed meeting new colleagues, and I feel really weepy because I can't stand being, I'm an extrovert. I can't stand this. I can't stand being home. I can't stand not being with people. So it's nice to be with you guys. Thank you.
Patty, I'm shocked that you're an extrovert. That's news to me. Charlie, go ahead.
So I get a second what Patty's saying. These are great, and it's so wonderful to see so many of you lovely folks. But that's not actually what I was going to say. My best part this week was I have the awesome responsibility of employing people, and that's obviously a pretty difficult thing these days. But I'm very happy that I was able to actually hire somebody this week.
Oh, wow.
And I actually got to, it's a friend of mine that's local, and I'll get into that at some point. I'm not going to run this up, but she came over, and so I actually had human interaction from a distance, but I got to actually see another human being in person and interact with them. Whereas this is my 14th day of actually kind of self-quarantining, self-locking away, just to try to keep everybody safe around me. So, actually coming to these things and having a real human was pretty cool. So, yeah.
All right, Steve, go ahead.
So this doesn't really have anything to do with planetariums, but the weather finally broke here just yesterday or maybe 2 days ago, and it's been fantastic because it's very depressing to be not only locked inside the house, but also have it be rainy and cloudy and gross and cold. And today it's, I think, 60 degrees or something, and we're able to, 61, and we can take walks, and it's wonderful.
Michelle, go ahead.
I would agree with what a lot of people have said so far. These e-conferences have been fabulous, getting to see people, meet new people. But as you can see in my background, it is still very snowy here. And so my husband keeps on taking me up to the mountain because he gets too bored hanging around the house. And I have to go to a meeting. So thanks, everybody.
All right, Tim, you're up. We cannot hear you, Tim. Oh, gotcha. That was quite impressive. Jackie, to keep with the Buffalo theme, Jackie.
I'm an introvert, so this whole quarantine thing hasn't been too terrible on me. So not want to rub it in, but like I've been enjoying just being at home, and like since my husband's working from home and all that, so we're all getting to be at home and enjoying each other's company and not have to worry about leaving because of commitments and stuff like that. But that wasn't. I have like a aloe I've been growing, and so this week I got to like separate it out and replant it, and I was so excited that like I have 5 living plants. But also it's like it was like really muddy out in our yard, so we put boots on our daughter and let her go stomping around in the mud, and she got all muddy, and she was playing with her bubble machine, and it was just really pretty, and it's just like a simple beautiful thing that we got to enjoy, and she was just excited about like everything, and it was just wonderful, and just like we ran out of bubbles, so now we have to go buy more bubbles. But it was just so pretty, and it was sunny because it's never sunny in Buffalo, so it was sunny and it was somewhat warm. There's no snow on the ground, and it's not too bad. So
All right, we're gonna go back to Tim because we heard your microphone working. You got to unmute yourself.
Nobody can hear you scream in space.
Is it working yet?
There we go.
Ha! Magic buttons. All right. I needed my glasses, I think. So, yeah, it's been an interesting time, as Jackie said, in Buffalo here. We've been clouded out quite a bit, but Venus has been a very interesting conversation piece, and it maintains my social distance because my driveway is east-west. And I've been standing out on the driveway staring into the sky when I can see it. And you know what? It starts conversations with the neighbors. And it's just been wonderful to actually get out and be able to teach something. Even though I'm not in a dome, I'm under the biggest dome ever, right? So it was really nice this week to get out there and just show people, especially when the moon was there last weekend. So hopefully keep that up, and Venus will work for you in your neighborhoods. Give it a shot.
All right, Mark Webb.
Okay, I'm just going to chime in how constructive I think these are, and that they're really helping to build a stronger community. I think that when we do all go back to our domes and have a chance to work with the public again, we'll do so with a closer sense of community with each other. And I'd like for everybody to think about some people that they haven't seen on one of these conferences and reach out to them and invite them. I think I feel that there are probably people out there who are not avid Facebook users or connected in other ways that may be missing out on this. That, and if you have the opportunity to send some emails to people and invite them to come, I think it's good that we keep this going.
Thanks, Mark. All right, Paige, go ahead.
I was gonna say Venus as well. I don't have any close neighbors, but just being able to look at Venus and use binoculars and watch the stars pop out that I can't see with naked eye. Very, very cool.
And Jeff.
Probably like the rest of us, I have a hole in my heart that's usually filled by the kids that I interact with in the planetarium. And so seeing Shannon's daughter peek into a view reminded me of how much I've enjoyed seeing Levent's kids, and I think I've seen Andromeda pop in occasionally. So thanks for those moments.
We're by the end of this, we're gonna know everybody's kids. So you just see them start growing up conference to conference. It'll be something else. Jessica.
Yeah, so we did our first live stream on Wednesday, which was a lot of fun and just great to be back doing some programming again. That made me really happy. But one of the things that I've been trying to kind of keep positive about is, because I'm not at work all the time, which I don't really complain about because I love work, I love my job. But because I'm not there all the time now, I have had the opportunity to do projects that I haven't had time for, pick up hobbies that I had to kind of put to the side because I didn't have time to do. And that's been kind of a nice side effect of this, is I get to do a little bit more personal stuff.
Very cool. All right. Any other best parts? Ken Brandt.
Okay, yeah, I just want to say, Michael, a big shout out to you for setting all of this up, because these are the best parts of my week right here, getting to interact with all my peers. I'm setting up some virtual planetarium programs for my local audiences and teachers and kids, and that's also been very enriching. It's obviously not the same as having kids under the dome, but it's a close second, and it makes this more bearable, more doable. So thank you.
Oh, thanks, Ken. It's been a lot of fun, and it's like just saw an opportunity and took it. I guess I'll take this opportunity, and then Julian, I'll let you go. My best part of the week, other than having these run smoothly, start of the week, my partner had COVID, and now she's feeling better. I think we're on the downslope. So for those of you who know her, we had a running bet that she would be the first person to get it anyway. And I cashed in on that. So I feel bad and good at the same time, but she is feeling better, and that's what's important. Juliana.
Oh, goodness. Oh my God. Oh my God. Anyway, if we're connected in Facebook, you've probably seen me posting lots of pictures of pottery, and that has been a great help for me to keep, afloat. And what I started doing with the pottery, it has a lot to do with space. So I've been doing all these kind of pseudo galaxies and supernovas in vases and cups, so they're very three-dimensional. So you look inside the vase and you see the supernova kind of exploding. Anyway, So that has been, had kept my eye on things in my hands, in me being in this planet, thinking and doing and connecting with the universe, which has been super powerful. I never imagined this. So anyway, I'm so thankful.
Fantastic. Anyone else? All right. Well, this is the first conference we've gone over, but we went a minute over so that we could share our best parts of the week. So I don't think any of us are going to complain. So thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Again, you can, where you get your Facebook event news is where you'll see the information about the upcoming ones. But be safe, stay healthy, have a great weekend wherever you are, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you. You too. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good night.
Bye, folks, especially my new friends.
Bye-bye.
Here, y'all.
Bye, everybody.